This show is sponsored by ActiveFlex. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love for you to follow the show and share it with a friend. It helps the podcast reach more people. Thanks so much for listening. So my little dog Georgie is demanding that Phil give her pats. Today's episode marks a milestone of 30 episodes of the show. We're talking about NDEs, or near-death experiences. And my guest helps people navigate the life-changing impact of near-death experiences to find meaning, peace, and inner harmony. Today, I'm joined by transpersonal psychotherapist, counselor, coach, PTSD specialist, and author, Phil Golding of Inner Harmony in Brisbane. Welcome.
Thank you, Belinda. That was a good introduction.
Let's start with your personal journey. Are you able to share a little bit about yourself and life growing up?
Yes, of course. I grew up in Tamworth, actually, and I probably started off as a lower middle class family, but they got a bit more prosperous as time went on. But it was a pretty average upbringing. And
Moved to Brisbane?
I moved to Brisbane. The wheels started to fall off towards the end of high school because there was some deeper stuff happening. I started to descend into depression. I didn't know it was that then. And so I ended up dropping out of high school halfway through the last year, year 12. And then I ended up getting a job as a lab assistant, and which was good. I got to wear a white coat and got half a decent wage. And I ended up going to Sydney to become a pathology technician. But after a year, that wasn't me, and so I came back and feeling like a failure, feeling lost. I had no idea really who I was or
country boy to the city.
And there was nothing in school or my family of origin that really reflected my innate talents.
What do you mean? Because my question was going to be, would you say nothing in your childhood brought out the depression you were feeling in high school? Or was there triggers for that? Or do you think it was just a predisposition in your genetic makeup?
Right. So there's a story there. Nothing in my childhood really reflected my potentials, so I didn't really know what direction to take. I had a deep desire to do something meaningful, so I didn't feel then to just do a labouring job or whatever. So by the time I come back from my course, I was quite depressed, pretty suicidally depressed as well.
Yeah. Didn't know what you wanted to do. What's the meaning? What's it all for?
I thought I'd failed. At 20 years old, I thought I'd failed and the bus left without me, which was
life is over.
Which was odd in itself because I had some challenges in my childhood, some bullying and a bit of a challenge with my elder brother, who we had also a soul connection as well. But it didn't really explain the depth of what I was feeling and the blockages that I had. But I ended up having a motorbike accident. So that took me out of that scene, took me to my parents' place, who had retired on the coast by that time. And from there, I encountered a travelling custom painting course, doing murals on cars. Art was a thing for me back then. So I ended up doing that and ended up following them to Brisbane and worked for them for a time.
So that's you were a creative as well. You found joy in art?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It could have been one of the paths I could have taken.
Yeah, wow. One day you'll have to send me a picture of the murals you've done on cars. I want to see that.
Yeah.
Some of the murals around different country towns that I drive.
Beautiful.
Unbelievable. There's a new one up at Caboolture.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's a wonderful trend. I like that.
And possibly when you moved back to your parents' house on the coast, was that a positive for you? Did you find some happiness? And
there was a sanctuary there.
Yeah.
They built that house long before that, about 63, and holidayed there. And so that was very much a sanctuary place for me. So that took me out of that headspace.
Yeah. And it took you out of that dark feeling. And, it's so common, Phil. Like probably every third person I speak to has had struggles. I most certainly have, but mine, I think, was more of a chemical imbalance in my 40s.
Right.
I've also got late diagnosed ADHD. So there's that struggle my whole life where it's been go, 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 fight or flight my entire life, having a mask on, covering all my trauma. People would have no idea that I'm carrying trauma in a bag every single day. So I've been where you were. So many people have.
Yes, indeed. So in Brisbane, I ended up falling into a trade just being a spray painter. And so I did my trade there, married a lady who had a drinking problem, and that was an indication of my disposition because I picked the wounded deer who I then tried to rescue, and of course I got on the roller coaster ride with her, but I learned some very essential lessons. But it was like that old joke you used to have as a kid where they'd tell a story and they go, it'd be a bad story, and they go, "Oh, that's bad," but then they said, "No, that's good because it leads to something good." And of course, life was conspiring, and she ended up getting sober, got 12 stepped in a rehab clinic, and then got into AA. And that led me into my own 12-step program because when she got into AA and she was on her own path, my depression was still patiently waiting for me. And
That came back.
it was always there,
And you were suppressing
or coping,
Yeah.
and that's what drove me into finding my own 12-step program, which was Al-Anon at the time, which was for family and friends of alcoholics. And
I can't recommend that enough. My best friend is 10 years sober. She has just done incredible things in the program, and that Al-Anon as well for family and friends, it's a must-have.
Yeah, the 12-step program is really where I did my self-awareness growing up with, but it also helped me to start to twig that this was my natural disposition. I found it easy to understand the concepts, and I just kept digging and digging until I understood it. What was the physics behind it? Why did it work? And so
was that your path to becoming a therapist?
Very much so, because I just had this burning question, how does it work? It was just an innate, intuitive.
So how does the brain
interest.
connect to the personal pathways of emotion?
Yeah.
And
As soon as I saw the 12-step program up on the wall when I took my then wife to an open AA meeting, something just went bing inside me. I just knew, even though I had nothing in my background to prepare me for that, there was an intuition. I just knew that was a path for transformation. So
yeah, and we will get on NDEs, listeners, but I've got another burning question for Phil. If you don't mind me asking, how did you get her there? How did you get her to want to go there? You don't have to tell me her personal rock bottom story. That's not what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm just asking for the listeners who are struggling with a partner or themselves. How did you broach it, and how did you get it over the line to get her in that door?
Well, on one level, to stop trying to get her there for a start.
Okay, so they need to want to be there.
I saw a counsellor at Biala where we were trying to, she was starting to experience the alcoholic poisoning, and she was quite a soak drinker.
Physical.
Not so much of a binge drinker. So she was struggling there, and so she was seeing a counsellor at Biala, and he was trying to encourage her to put herself in for rehab. And I went and saw him, and he gave me a really important, realization, a wake-up call. The question is, all the things that you've done to try to control the drinking, has any of it worked? And no, of course not. I just was on the roller coaster with her. And so it helped me to let go. It helped me to stop controlling guilt trips, all the things you try to do.
You would have tried everything.
Yeah.
This is your life partner. You would have tried everything.
That's right. And so I was able to go home and hand it all back to her, but in a compassionate way, not in a guilt trip way, but in a compassionate way.
So third person.
So I think that had an impact on her, and managed to pour into Biala a couple of weeks later. And so that's how that unfolded. And
yeah, because I think that's the biggest hurdle is, especially without them having to reach a rock bottom and it being the only option. Wouldn't it be nice if there was just a magic step you could take?
Well, there was a rock bottom there for her, but the fact that I was able to, give her that compassionate realization, if you like, that really this is, a little bit of a reminder for her that this is her life and she's got to,
like that. Yeah, and that's one thing my best friend will say. She said, I have no control over the people around me, how they say, feel, what they think. All
very much
I can control is what I do.
That's it.
It's the only bit of control I have. All right. What drew you into working with people who've had near-death experiences?
Right. So that's a bigger question, and really it involves studies in human consciousness as a therapist, but also from my own experience. So I haven't had a near-death experience, but my experience was past life intrusion into my consciousness. That's what my experience was. And that really what was going on that was causing my depression when I was young. But I didn't know that. It was so buried in my unconscious. But by the time I got much further down the track, I was very open. I was at university at the time, just at the last year of my first stint at university. So I was very open. I'd pretty well processed quite well my family of origin experiences and things like that. But I had a girlfriend at the time and a mentor at the time, and they were part of those past lives, and it was just starting to come through.
So part of your soul group.
Yeah, if you
Soul
like, yes.
family, they call it. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
So how old are you at this point? Then? Not now?
Very early 30s.
Right.
Probably
And
around
so
30, yeah.
studying
Yeah.
to be a
psychologist.
right?
Yeah.
How did you learn that you had the past life and they were connected? What was that feeling? What can you put your finger on it?
It was like a steam train running through my consciousness. It was just being triggered and released, and I was aware enough to know that it wasn't my family of origin stuff, because these were fully adult complexes coming through that really weren't part of my conditioning and really weren't part of who I am, my personality.
This life story. It wasn't part of this life story.
That's right.
Can you share a little bit of what that story was?
Or what was coming through?
Yeah, what was the steam train?
Probably about half a dozen different lives.
Were they in Australia, in China? Where were they?
All over the place. One of the most powerful ones was a Crusades warrior.
Is that Scotland?
It could have been anywhere, really. They did a lot in Europe as well as Middle East, but I just felt the emotion then.
Did you?
Yeah, it's very powerful in me. That we were very skilled, but we weren't big in numbers. We joined another group and we went off to attack this other mob where the heathens, they didn't deserve to live in the eyes of God or whatever it was, were true believers and but real true believers,
Yeah.
and and we slaughtered them, of course.
So you had war trauma, you had battle trauma.
Some of us woke up to the horror of what we did.
In this life, you felt the horror from a past life?
Yeah, from that. And because my whole identity then was wrapped around, in that life was wrapped around that role, I didn't have the maturity then to understand. And so my whole identity had just collapsed. And so that was a massive existential crisis. And these were lives where I didn't resolve anything, so that the full impact of the unresolved energy was coming through. So that was just one of the lives. And that was a real big argument with God, if you like. And so
Are you a religious man in this life?
No, spiritual. I'm open to all religions in terms of what works. I see it all as the physics of consciousness of what works now.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. If it works for you and it's bringing you what you need in that moment.
Yeah, that's right. And so that was my sort of something other than the norm, if you like.
Yeah. And what about the other two? Did you share with them the crusade feeling? Was that the life they were sharing with you, or were they sharing every life with you?
My mentor was a part of that life.
Yeah.
My girlfriend I had then was a part of a couple of other lives.
Yeah. Did they have the same feeling?
No. My mentor understood because he was quite telepathic, but no, my girlfriend wasn't there for that experience.
No, she was there to date Phil.
So, but these were, and just coincidentally, I knew, I was just acquainted to a few mediums, clairvoyants, and so.
Did you talk to them about it?
Well, that's right. When I was in their presence, they could just feel the energy, so we could sit down. I wouldn't get the story so much. It would come directly through my emotions. I'd occasionally get a dream or a vision or something, but they would sit down and literally find themselves in the story, and then they would relay that to me, and that would all click and help to bring it through more.
And understand.
Yeah. But what I had to do is use all that I've learnt to take care of my humanness. And it's like in a child work, but you're now holding the space for that other part of yourself that's coming through. It's exactly the same way. But I had to stop resisting it because I was starting to launch myself into my counselling career.
Your
So
adult career, yes.
Drop everything and just disappear back into my cave and just be
Did you do that?
my heart. Yeah.
Yeah. How long for?
It probably took me 6 months to, to get a handle on it all, and then about probably 12 months to integrated quite sufficiently.
And that's what you do. I was reading on Inner Harmony's website, you help people integrate their feelings. So whether it's from the NDE, but you also do PTSD, or you also do things like that, and you
That's right.
integrate into their
Depression,
person.
anxiety. I do normal stuff, obviously,
Yeah.
but, occasionally I would, drop a person into their emotions, follow that in, and they would come out in, run somewhere, And so
Stop it. Not in a
that
session.
happens. Yeah, in a session.
Wow.
That would happen occasionally.
Did you? I'm so interested in hypnotherapy. Have you ever had that?
I'm not a hypnotherapist.
But have you ever had it?
No, I don't go under.
No. Oh, they've tried.
Yeah, I don't go under.
Oh.
My awareness is so sharp. But
Yeah.
They say, they
They
go
can't
through the
do
whole
it.
routine and
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Yeah. It's actually amazing to see. I've hosted a bunch of fundraisers for a charity. The charity is Bravehearts. And one time I hired this fantastic hypnotist as the entertainment. And he called up about 15 women, onto the stage. I think 2 of them didn't go under. And he just said, go and sit down, to the ones that didn't. But those ones that did, holy heck, they were well under.
Yeah. Put somebody under once.
Did you?
They were just very much receptive to that. But that was quite useful. I made good use of that for her. But usually if you can, I take person into a meditative state and then focus on the emotion with your heart open to it. I help them know how to sit with it and be with it. And that you then follow the feeling trail.
So you can put people into a meditative state?
Yes.
Which would be similar to hypnotherapy?
It's similar to the person. I want the person to be in
control.
charge of the process. So I'm helping them know how to look after their humanness. So they're very much present through the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's the understanding that the only thing really in physical space-time is our body. Once you go into the mind, you're not in space-time because there's no time in the mind. You look in the mind, you're looking straight into the past, whether it's 1 second ago. And the mind will try to project itself into the future, but it's not here now. And so all our conditioning are programs built in the past that are trying to operate in the present, and it's problematic because a lot of those programs aren't congruent with what's necessary for the present. You know what I mean? And so that's why we're always tripping over ourselves.
Yeah.
The mind is literally a different dimension. This can bring us into the near-death stuff because the past life stuff for me, and plus my interest in spirituality and consciousness, which I was already very much exploring, drove me to look at anything transpersonal, meaning beyond the ego or the normal human mind experience. So near-death experiences was very important as a part of that. Psychedelic experiences as well. And there's a correlation there because they're ultimately giving you the same message. And my work in terms as a therapist and my explorations in the 12-step program was looking for that message. I got that understanding of what works to help us to heal and awaken and grow.
And integrate.
Yeah, I'd already had that.
Yeah.
And then I could recognize that same message was coming through in psychedelic experiences and near-death experiences, and knowing that enabled me to integrate those past life experiences, which were very, very intense, but an understanding that as a trauma therapist, once you understand the mind, know how it works on its own level, on its own dimension, and once you understand yourself sufficiently as awareness, which operates on a different dimension, which is why we can observe ourselves. The ego is awareness, but it's not aware of itself as awareness. It's serving the mind. So it's only restricted to what's in the box of our conditioning, which is why the poor old ego gets a bad name, because the
ego is a protector,
isn't necessarily
right?
very good. Well, it's the manager more than anything. The
Yeah.
fight or flight's more the I'll save you kind of thing, but it's very primal and limited.
Yes.
So, but the ego is still limited because it's very much captured by the mind and serving the mind. The trick is to awaken that potential to where it becomes an independent conscious force that can then embrace your own humanness and be able to look after it. And the near-death experiences will consistently give you that message of this is what you are. You are an aware being having a human experience. These are the principles that you use to integrate, to heal, and master your humanness.
So where would, off topic, but where would reincarnation come into this, in your opinion?
Well, I guess considering that we're living more than one life, obviously, there is the argument where there is no time, everything's happening at once. And once you get beyond the physical, those who have had very powerful near-death experiences and psychedelic experience that they have, you're also plugging yourself into levels of knowing that it's very hard to access and hang on to here. And they get a sense that, yes, there is no time, everything is happening at once. But once we're in this dimension, it's linear. And so when it comes to looking at lives, they are past. But you can also, and I have someone very close to me who's experienced parallel lives. It usually gets them through a dreams very powerfully.
Wow.
Yeah, it is all happening at once. But there is
Can they control the other life?
No.
No. So it's information they'll receive.
It is
but
information, yeah. But we're here to do this one while we're here. Well, it's a very big topic. We could do half a dozen
tried to
podcasts
control the
with
other
this.
one.
I don't think you can. I haven't heard of being able to do that.
Yeah.
But you can certainly live it quite
I did have,
deeply.
I didn't think of this until right now when you're speaking, but I remember being about 14 years old and I was with one of my best friends and we were walking down her street. And I just had this overwhelming feeling, not that all the houses disappeared, but that there was like nomadic people around me, like with tents, which would be Indigenous tents, right? Because I'm in, at the time, Ferny Hills in Brisbane, Australia.
Yeah.
But I just felt like there was something going on in this same time right now here, but I'm not in Ferny Hills looking at houses. And with my best friends, I'm looking at sparse, dense land with gum trees and tents and people.
Yeah. If we could do a survey and people would be honest and take seriously those sorts of experiences they've had, we'd be quite amazed how many people are breaking through the matrix at times, to a bigger reality.
So you think that could have been a past life memory or?
That could possibly be, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was only brief, but I remember I even spoke to my friends about it. I've just had the weirdest feeling and this is what I saw and felt.
Yeah. I walked into a Buddhist temple and had a feeling like that.
Did you?
Yeah. Because I've had lots of lovely lives too.
Yeah.
And a lot of really good Buddhist lives.
This podcast is supported by our friends at ActiveFlex, the Australian pain-relieving gel designed for long-lasting relief for painful muscles and joints. Always read the label and follow the directions for use. If your symptoms persist, please seek advice from a healthcare professional. You can shop online at Chemist Warehouse or simply search ActiveFlex Gel. So we know what drew you to working with people who've had near-death experiences, and like you said a minute ago, you yourself have not experienced an NDE.
Not in this life, anyway.
Not in this life. So after an NDE, some people will experience physical changes, expanded awareness, heightened sensitivities, and others, obviously.
Yeah.
What are some of the most common experiences or themes people report after an NDE?
Let's go to the message first, then we'll go from there to there, because the message is very important in terms of what awakens our consciousness. And this is what we encounter in that near-death experience. That explains the higher levels of our consciousness and what is guiding us. And so what I learned in the 12-step program is to accept myself unconditionally, but also take total responsibility for everything I think, therefore feel, say, and do. And so that would be hard if it wasn't for the unconditional self-acceptance, which is an essential quality of unconditional love. So that enabled me to look at myself squarely whilst learning not to identify with all the self-judgment that was coming out of Pandora's box to beat me up. And so I could identify, but now myself as awareness is representing unconditional love and personal responsibility. That's where my ego is now, but it's freed from being the limited ego now, awareness representing those two principles. That enables me then to see everything in my mind that causes me to suffer, because everything that isn't accepting me unconditionally is causing me to suffer.
It's not serving.
Yeah. So they're fundamental physics of consciousness, and they are the basis for every path. I've never seen it contradicted. And so unconditional acceptance of not just myself, But then we start to expand it out to accepting you unconditionally. I can't have a fully functioning relationship with my partner unless I'm accepting him or her unconditionally. But it's also then accepting life unconditionally, and that's a whole next level of self. Trusting that life actually knows what it's doing by putting at the center of my life my own self-responsible, loving relationship with myself. This is not self-indulgence. This is not taking from anybody to look after myself. I am the source of my own love.
Just on that, do you think we have free will, or is it written? Is it fate? And that's just it. We think we have free will, but we do not actually have free will.
That's a big question, and it's yes to both sides. Well, we can look at that in the near-death experience. Just to add a bit more, the unconditional self-acceptance leads you to understanding that I'm accepting myself unconditionally. I'm not asking somebody else to, I am. And so it's an awakening that I am actually a source of love. So I don't have to wait for somebody else to give it to me. And it makes sense if we're in a relationship, and if, oh, finally I've met Belinda and I've found the love I've been looking for, but you're looking at me the same way. Now, if I'm empty and you're empty, where are we actually getting that love from? So we're downloading it. We're all plugged directly into that. So therefore, unconditional love is actually oneness. It's a universal consciousness. It's how us as sentient beings experience that oneness as unconditional love. So anything we can deeply connect to, we're starting to feel that oneness, you see. And so
I hope you say this to each and every client. I hope you say this to everybody. Exactly what you just said for the last minute.
in various ways,
If you
depending
don't,
on
start saying it, because
what
that's
they're ready
brilliant.
for. Yeah, it's a vital awakening reality to comprehend.
Yeah.
And so a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, not so long ago, had a near-death experience in the Amazon jungle of all places, because he's Brazilian and he's been studying over in Brazil, ecological studies in the Amazon jungle, going down one of the water tributaries in a little boat slowly with his team, and brushed against a low-lying tree that contained wasps, and he got stung by a bunch of those wasps, and that killed him. He literally started
On a boat
passing
in the Amazon.
in the Amazon jungle.
No
It wasn't
one
so
to
deep
call.
that you couldn't make your way out, but it was pretty deep, And so he had the classic going through the dark tunnel.
Okay, so there is a classic. Okay,
Yes.
What's the classic?
Yes.
Go.
So we're in a wonderful age of information where these things are being correlated over and over and over and over again from all around the world. And a common one is often you can be pausing out of body for a while, wondering what the hell's going on, but then it's usually you're at a very deep state of peace because you're freed from the mind. Well, you're freed from the body, which makes it much easier to be transcending the mind. So, but he didn't pause. He just was through the dark tunnel, which is, I think, transcending this physical dimension. And but you're in a deep state of peace, and then you usually come out into an incredible light that you feel. And it's incredibly bright. It's usually white, but you're feeling it as an all-encompassing unconditional love. It's the oneness, if you like. That's the universal consciousness that you're, re-emerging into. But usually you encounter guides of some form or another, which he did. They were in quite a spiritual, ghostly form. And
Ancestors, maybe?
He didn't identify them.
No, but they were guides.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick experience. They basically said, it's not your time yet. You need to go back.
So he transcended. He saw his ghost-like figurey guides.
Yeah.
And they said, not yet.
Not yet. Time to go back. You need to go back. And so he found himself back in his body, disorientated, not knowing what was going on, and got his bearings. And he passed out a couple of times after that, but didn't, go back to that near-death experience. And they managed to carry him out to the hospital or whatever. But that gets to that question that you're talking about. Is it free will or is it destiny? Now, we've got to understand some frameworks here. And this is where we've got to get outside the box and understand ourselves as multidimensional. You're already multidimensional just sitting in that chair as a human body, mind, and awareness. They're different dimensions. Okay, mind is already outside space-time. Awareness is much more outside space-time. It's always in the eternal now position. Now, 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 now. And really, the only time we can act is now. And so awareness's job ultimately is to manage the mind, which is this creative powerhouse, but doesn't know what the heck it's creating. It's just all over the place. And with awareness, we can start to steady that and pay more attention to what we're doing now and what we're thinking now. So you can be making decisions as awareness, the observer now in the present moment, that are different to your conditioned mind, which is just programs being triggered and habits. So it can be going off that direction while you as awareness are trying to bring it around to this direction. So you're already awareness having a active conscious relationship with your humanness. And the mind is there, but then you've got even your more primal instincts, your fight or flights, and things like that. And so there's already multidimensional. But there's a higher dimension, a higher dimension, a higher dimension, a higher dimension, and so who's really making the decisions in terms of destiny? Still you, but on a much higher level. So the job of awareness is to look after this human guy here in the moment, ongoing.
So if that's what it is to be a human, how difficult would it be for the people who live a life of trouble, for instance, for their awareness to change when their higher power, like you say, step, 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 is obviously guiding them for this life's destiny, but it's a negative destiny. How hard would it be for them to want to find the change when they're fighting against?
Yeah, at first, if you're talking about human evolution, the evolution of your consciousness, which is what transpersonal psychology is aware of. When I'm working with someone, I need to know where they are in their maturity of consciousness, how much intuitive knowing they have. And the way they handle their fear tells me that. Someone who has that level of readiness to face themselves sees fear as an opportunity to look at it and learn something from it. But when we're not, we're running from it. And so we're trying to escape from it and avoid it. And so, we want an antidepressant or something like that to make go away. Nothing wrong with any of that. But if you try to counsel someone on that level who's ready to transcend the mind and start to actively work on it, you're going to restrict them. But if you try to work with someone on that transpersonal level who's not ready, I'm just going to give them anxiety. So you got to respect where a person is at and what they need. Sometimes you just need to free the ego so we can get back into life and keep having experiences. But another person may want to get on an open-ended,
Next
awareness
level.
journey.
Yeah.
That's right.
I love that you can recognize and you'd be able to decipher where someone is at.
Yeah.
What they're ready for, what they're open to.
Well, on that level too, it very much gets to a point where you can't know it unless you've lived it. And so having to face yourself and breaking through your own inner work is a vital part of your training. When you go into the deeper depth psychology, personal psychology modalities, you can't just do an academic course and truly understand it. You've got to dive into it.
Well, look at you. You took 6 to 12 months to go through that.
Well, much more than that. Ultimately, in terms of the exploration, there's no are we there yet.
Yeah.
It's open-ended. So
It's
we're always
open-ended.
learning something.
Okay, so we talked about the most common themes people report, which is the dark tunnel, the bright light, and then guides. Would it make a difference for people that have cultural differences or religious backgrounds?
It can do. It can, because we drop the body, but we take the mind with us. The mind is the recording mechanism of the experience. And we're still very much identified with our mind experience, our earthly experience. Some people aren't. Some people, when they pass, they're in that pause moment, up at the ceiling or whatever, looking down, and they don't even recognize that as their body. They've completely...
Is that common that people will have that out-of-body experience and look down?
That is a common aspect of it, yes.
So I learned recently from my mum. My father passed away when I was 7, and he passed away in front of my brothers and I. He had a heart attack literally in front of us, and he died. And Mum was telling me recently that when the paramedics came, he was already gone, and they laid him on his bed in their bedroom. And us 3 children were expected to go in and say goodbye to his body. I don't recall it being a good experience. I recall it being an absolutely horrific experience because when he had passed away, the first thing I said is, he's gone. And I was the youngest. I was 7 and my brothers were a little bit older, a year and older and then another year older. And they both said, no, he's not. He's just fallen over. And I said instantly, no, he's gone. He's passed away. And then when we were to say goodbye to his body, I remember him laying on the bed. And my mum said to me recently, you wouldn't go near him because you kept pointing at the roof and saying, he's up there. He's right there. Can't you see him? He's right there. But I don't have that memory. But she has that memory of me saying that.
Yeah.
So perhaps he was still there looking down.
Yeah, kids at that age are much more open. Back to past lives, there's many, many, many recorded reports now or studies done of children talking about their past lives right from the start, vividly remembering them, and recent lives that you can actually go and research, and relatives are still alive, and so they literally know. They can walk into a house and they know everything about that house. No one has to tell them anything about it. And but by the time they start getting older and getting into this life, the memories fade and they start to let them go. And so children are often much more psychic and open and aware.
Yeah.
That there's an inbuilt determination in our humanness to very much be involved in this life, and so it often closes that off it, but not for everyone. Not everyone grows out of that.
Yeah.
Some people remain in that awareness.
Connected.
Yeah. But I think, most people do grow out of it.
Yeah. All 3 of my children have displayed some weird things growing up. And I guess because I wasn't so open to it, because I've never experienced it, I should have asked more questions. My daughter, one of them, the one that you just met, she, when she was about 3, just randomly, we were watching, Play School or The Wiggles. And then she said, do you know I used to be a Chinese girl? And I was like, did you?
Yeah, we don't know then, eh? But if we knew what we knew then,
I wish I had have written it down and questioned more.
That's right.
And my son, even as a baby, before he could speak, every time we would drive past the Toowong Cemetery or the one up at Annerley near the Mater Hospital on the way up there, he would stop whatever he's doing in the car, look out the window and smile and wave at the cemeteries.
Yes.
So for sure he was seeing something. He doesn't do that now.
Yeah,
when he was little.
That's right.
Yeah.
I didn't have conscious memories of my past lives when I was younger, but they infiltrated my dreams, I'm pretty sure. And but I wasn't just dealing with one life. I'm quite sure I purposefully kept that door open to test out the intuitive knowledge that I'd already brought in. So that helped really. It was quite a profound study in PTSD, because every life that came through, that was the challenging ones that came through at that time, were all PTSD experiences. And
additional trauma.
I literally had to sit there and counsel myself in many different guises.
Yeah.
So that really gave me a deep appreciation of what we go through.
Yeah. And so
can we go back to you asked that question of destiny and will.
Yeah.
That's a really important question, because that part of me up there can have an intention, and that part of me is also totally in tune with life in terms of what all the possibilities are in this life. So that part is connected to all the synchronicities and the people that we may meet there. But my role here is to be looking after this guy in the present moment. The only way to do that effectively is with my heart open as a representative of love to my own humanness, but also taking total responsibility for him, not blaming others. So we get out of the victim mentality. And so, but to do that, I'm learning how to feel and tune in to be present like we would with our own child if we're a really conscious parent, you know what I mean? And so, but to do that, I'm also representing that, so that enables me to be much more open and in tune with that higher part of myself. So I'm much better whilst through the, learning of looking after my humanness, I'm learning to also listen to my potential, my intuition. okay, that inner guidance that is coming from those much higher parts of myself. Now, I may set intentions on that level of what I want to experience here. I think some people are quite open-ended in where they go, what they do, but it's more about how they do it. And so, but lots of things can be happening randomly on this level because we don't always hit the mark. And if we miss a mark, that's okay. We just start again and everything just then
So you think we were supposed to miss the
rearranges
mark?
itself. Well, yes and no. Yes, we could. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Even if we miss a mark, it's okay
Yeah.
because everything instantly rearranges itself.
Yeah.
As soon as you get back on track,
So it's not like the
there's new
red pill or the blue
possibilities.
pill in Matrix. It's either this or that. It's like you say, if you miss a mark, everything.
You can start again and again and again and
Yeah.
again and again.
Yeah.
It's not, I've missed it, therefore my life's over. No, that's totally flexible. But there is an overall intention, but that intention may encapsulate several lives. You know what I mean? And so there's a mix between destiny but also choice. We're all apprentice gods, if you like. We're all these creators, and we haven't got the foggiest idea what we're creating half the time, but that's the challenge of learning, being able to observe the mind and start to pay attention to what is it creating? Is it taking me actually where I want to go?
Yeah.
And so
I wish you could say that to the world leaders, especially in this day and age. Gosh, imagine if the people in power were all about love.
yeah, we'll get there. I think
Hope
we're at a
so.
cycle at the moment where the negativity is coming out, but we're at a level of consciousness that each time it comes out, it hits a peak. There's more and more people seeing it for what it is and saying to themselves, I don't want to go down that road again.
No.
And so I think humanity is growing, but it's a big ship, so it takes time. But humanity depends on you and I and everyone who's listening to this podcast. We are a cell in the overall body of humanity as one being, if you like, and that body depends on every cell individually waking up. And so the total personal responsibility to love myself unconditionally, to be my own sanctuary, to be my own parent, is the greatest gift I can give to myself, but also to humanity.
How can a listener begin that path? What would you say to them?
Begin by setting yourself a rock-solid commitment to accept yourself unconditionally every day and put that at the center of your life. It's not about getting it right. It's about having a go and accepting yourself enough to learn from each experience. It doesn't matter if you totally stuff up.
So letting go of regret?
Mess up again. It's no longer, we're removing failure from the equations. An experience that is now a lesson, a classroom. Through that loving, passionate approach that you're learning toward yourself to accept your humanness, because we can't avoid being human once we get dropped on this planet. And so we're going to get lost and confused and get hurt and hurt others. But now is an opportunity for me to stop and look at it. What can I learn from that? So our past, less and less becomes a burden and more a classroom. And every experience in life becomes an opportunity to learn something. It's not fun at times. It can be very challenging. It can knock us over. But once we deeply understand that and get practiced at looking after ourselves in that way, we can pick ourselves up, get out our process and work through whatever it is. And we've just become stronger and wiser. And when we do that, we start to tap into and observe that reality of accepting life as it is, because it's actually facilitating my evolution. Everything that's coming my way, my ego might think it's a bucket of shit, but my awareness realizes it's a bucket of fertilizer that's going to grow my awareness in. So from awareness perspective, it's all good. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can't wait to get triggered today. That's going to help me know where to take my love to that part of myself.
Yeah.
But for the ego, stuck in the vulnerable human space of separation and we're all pitted against one another, that's hard. But when I'm my own parent, I can start to hold the space and look after that part of me and mentor that part of me. And so I'm bringing myself up into my self as awareness, which is evolving into what we could call our higher self, if you like, our potential of what we can be in this particular life.
You're a bloody genius. I hope you say everything you just said there for the last 3 minutes to every client.
Well, many people are waking up to this and
Yeah.
aware of this and
Yeah.
trying to live this.
This podcast is supported by our friends at ActiveFlex, the Australian pain relieving gel designed for long-lasting relief for painful muscles and joints. Always read the label and follow the directions for use. If your symptoms persist, please seek advice from a healthcare professional. You can shop online at Chemist Warehouse or simply search ActiveFlex Gel. When you were young, preteen, if you saw yourself now and what you do, what would he say? What?
He would recognize something in that. He wouldn't comprehend it probably, but he would be attracted to it.
He was looking for it. He was looking for it.
Although he was pretty skeptical back then.
Was he?
I think he would feel he was searching.
Was he?
I got quite born again as a Christian when I was around 14. So, I was searching.
Yeah.
So, I think he would have been attracted to that.
Yeah. So when I was little, so I think the young Belle would say to me, if she saw that I was doing the podcast now, I think she'd be excited because I've always wanted to be like the center of attention, yet I don't want it for any glory. That's not why I want it. It's just because I like to be heard. Listen to me, people. So I think she'd enjoy that. What are some of the challenges that you find some of your clients will have after having an NDE? So they've come to you to help with what?
Dealing with being on planet Earth again. You mentioned, the psychic awakening that often happens. And so you can experience things like, particularly when you first come back, like you got lights on, you'd probably be blowing the bulbs.
Actually blowing bulbs?
Yeah.
Stop.
That's one of the phenomenons, that your energy is very much heightened to the degree that will interfere with electronic stuff. And so that's one of the interesting experiences. But it's just being much more sensitive. Often they can be quite psychic afterwards. Things are opened up where, you can much more deeply empathic, but, you can be able to channel things, pick up stuff. So
See the future?
it would vary, depending on their own particular matrix.
Speaking other languages?
I don't know about that, but again, it could be quite varied as to what they're experiencing. And so trying to integrate that, feeling quite, you're coming back and you're a different person, can be, not always, but can be quite a different person. And so you may be relating differently because of that. And so your present relationship may not survive that because your present relationship may be very much in the mainstream and, whereas you can't relate to that so much anymore because your whole perspective and world just got much bigger. And, but a much more awareness of around the importance of acceptance and love and personal responsibility and not being a victim. And again, that can put you outside the circle that you're in before the experience because gossip and things like that would be not easy to be around.
Yeah. So can you give me 2 examples if you can? One of the weirdest near-death experience that you've heard of.
Right.
And then your favorite one.
All right. Well, nothing really comes to mind in terms of weirdest.
Because they're all normal to you. You hear them every day.
But, then what's weird when it comes to that?
Yes.
But, one interesting
that the
thing,
listeners might find weird, not you find weird.
One of the ones that fascinate me and really is quite educative, if that's a word, is when a person is on the other side, their body's in a coma, but it's time to come back. But the body's still in a coma. Usually when you're coming back, it's usually wham, you're in quite fast. But, I've heard a few reports of when the body's in a coma, that can be quite slow. And so they're literally feeling themselves like, there's this expansive, presence of consciousness. But now you're stepping back down into the density of the human mind and then into the human body. It's like an eagle being stuffed into a jam jar.
That sounds awful.
But it is the reality of what we're here for. Yeah. And they experience the restriction of their consciousness as you're locked back into the body. And that's similar with psychedelic experiences and things like that. You can be in such an expansive consciousness that you've literally understand the workings of the universe. when you're up there. And you can travel and do all sorts of incredible things and know so much. But by the time you're back in the body, you know you've known it, but you can't access that in that degree anymore. You can't articulate it because the words are hopeless. And your ability to hang on to that expansive state, is now restricted. That's the challenge of being in this physical body. Can we transcend that? And that's what awareness is. It's on this level. Awareness is on a dimension that can access higher dimensions, but also access our humanness. Humanness in its own more primal consciousness is too dense. It can't access higher dimensions. And so awareness is the bridge between our human consciousness and higher states of consciousness.
Do you think that animals have similar?
Animals have all sorts of similar stuff. Like, they're here for their own reasons and their own purpose. But cats and dogs can see. My dog, for instance, is often chasing something that isn't there, that is there, but we can't see it. Yeah. And it's fixated on this thing. There's no gecko or anything up there. It's and so.
He's seeing something.
Yeah.
Dexter's seeing something.
Yeah, and cats are, reported to be able to see and sense a lot of things.
And then also dogs are very aware when there's a illness in a body or a part of a body that's injured. They'll always go to it and then lick that part of the body.
Yeah, that's right. And like animals, their senses are geared differently to ours. Their focus is different. And so
makes you feel bad to leave the house, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're going to be having sensory experiences that are different to ours.
Yeah.
And picking up things different to ours.
Yeah.
But the more we become open, and it depends on your matrix, your make and model. I'm an intuitive on a mental level. So my intuition comes through my intellect. I have to feel with my thinking. I'm an intuitive thinker. I struggle in academia. I can do it, but it's very dry and one-dimensional. My thinking is more intuitive, and so I download a lot.
Well, congratulations for finishing university then, if it's,
Well, 2 stints of university.
Wow.
But that's also part of the discipline.
That's right, yeah.
Being able to manage yourself.
And then also I was on your Inner Harmony website as well, and it was talking about the paranormal phenomena.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Well, again, is that different dimension. Like, your mind is really in what's called the astral dimension. It's thought, feeling. Now, for most of us, we're very much focused into the physical and relating to the present moment in the physical and our memories of the physical and things like that. But not everyone, like, the little pooch there, is probably very much focused, but, there's a wider spectrum that they can perceive. And so some people are much more aware of astral that is very much disconnected from the physical. So it's purely a thought, emotion, form dimension that you will encounter much more in near-death experiences and psychedelic experiences. But they can also be very frightening because, the notion of hell comes from that, because it's where all thought forms collect. Once you get beyond this physical, it's like attracts like, it's spectral. So all the hateful, emotional thought energy is in this spectrum, and the spectrum continues to refine as it becomes more awake and devoted to love and things like that. And so people have experienced in near-death experiences being stuck in the negative in their mind, because we take our mind with us. So they're not able to transcend their mind. They're stuck in the fear or guilt or hate or whatever in the mind. But with the near-death experiences, it's still ultimately guided. And so through the process of that, they learn about their own fears and how they become attached to it and can't let it go. So it ends up becoming a positive experience, but a big kick in the pants, that you got to let go and stop being a victim. Once they come back, they have that realization.
So when you say paranormal, it's not they can move things with their mind?
That is another aspect too. There's such a wide spectrum.
Give me that one. Have you ever had that experience with somebody?
No, I haven't encountered that.
No.
But I understand it. We are creators. Ultimately, we can master our mind energy and, our whole body physical energy. And we're layers of energy. If you can focus your mind, and visualization is very useful too. I'm not a very good visualizer.
Me neither, but I want to. There's a couple of things I really want to learn how to manifest.
But those who are quite natural at it, some people are quite natural at it, and the ones who work more with physical healing from a metaphysical perspective tend to be able to visualize very powerfully, and that seems to be a very useful tool for being able to project and manage energy. But it's still an agreement between, if I'm the healer, agreement between me and the other person on a higher spiritual level as to whether.
So you got to get them to want to do it.
But the person's consciousness doesn't necessarily know whether they want to do it or not. They just want it, but they don't know what their higher agreements are and things like that.
The agreements from before you were born?
Probably.
Yeah.
Like I remember getting a metaphysical healing on my knees by a chap who's naturally capable of doing that.
Like a shaman?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. He was actually Inuit.
Yeah, okay. Very much then.
Yeah. But he had his own troubles. He was also an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So he had some challenges.
Should you went to see him and he should have went to see you. Heal each other.
I was wanting something else from him. That time I was looking for mentors and wanting someone to connect to more on a mental level. But he couldn't give me that. He could only connect on that physical healing level. And so,
which is a good one to connect on, though.
When he sat down before me and put his hands on my knees, I could feel that energy.
It's incredible, right?
But I wasn't in tune with him, so I ended up, unintentionally, but I ended up blocking it because I was wanting something else. I really wasn't in the right mindset.
Did he heal the knees?
No, because I wasn't in the right mindset. I needed to really prepare myself and get my own head in the right space.
Yeah.
So we're in two minds, if you like. And so I ended up blocking what he was able to give me because I wasn't in tune with it. But I did get another metaphysical healing, which was more spontaneous.
And did that fix your knees?
Did a very good job on my back.
Excellent. Excellent. I had a shamanic experience with one of my guests that was on the show. She's incredible. And the experience blew my mind. It was the most profound experience, and it was no psychedelics. It was, she's a shamanic practitioner, Jade. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So there are those who are working on that astral level, but in a very positive way, knowing what they're doing, very skilled, and they've probably got a lot of past life learning that they're bringing in.
Yeah. So the question I asked her, I'll ask you, is this a good life one?
Every life's a good life.
Except for that Crusader one.
Every life's a good life.
Every
life is ultimately going to teach us something. Well, no matter what it is, we eventually will catch up and learn from it. Yeah, the more conscious you become of accepting yourself, one another, and life, and taking full responsibility for your own mind, then you realize that life is happening for you, not to you. And you're literally shifting into a reality where everything is one.
I like that. For you, not to you.
That's right. We're in a reality now where it's goodwill cooperation, where everybody is helping everyone. It's working together, lifting each other up. That's where humanity is going.
It's where we need to go.
Yeah, where there's no need for survival of the fittest, competition, exploitation, conflict.
And see, I'm a giver as well, and I want everybody to be the best version of themselves and reach their best potential. I don't have any time for the negativity around that.
But we've got to learn, and as part of the learning of why we're here in this separateness and this vulnerability and fear. But it's the difference between, like even Elon Musk is running on fear, which is why he's got to hoard all this money. It's still fear. But it's a case of whether we are the fear or whether we are facing the fear and learning from it and evolving beyond the fear. So it's We can do that right here, right now. We can be in that reality where people are working together, and they're the sort of people you will attract in your life.
It's interesting as well when you meet someone and you just feel they're from your soul family.
Yeah. It's
Isn't that
like hello
interesting?
again for the first time.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Or if you meet someone who's your soul arch nemesis,
They're your Zen master.
your Zen master. Holy smokes.
So they're going to be holding up very important mirrors. They're going to show you where your vulnerabilities are. So they're still giving you a gift. That's the power of the personal responsibility.
Do you think everybody has a Zen master?
Yeah, in all sorts of guises.
Yeah.
Like once you have that level of awareness where you are accepting and taking responsibility, then no matter what life throws at you, it's now an opportunity. Everything is a mirror showing you to yourself, and you want to know you now.
Yeah.
And so that's the shift of being able to turn around and look at yourself with your heart open and be willing to accept and receive and work with anything that's there.
You have not only just taught me so much, but listeners, I hope you have picked up what Phil Golding is putting down. One of the things that have come to me from what you've said today is that, and I'll take it this way, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what if I said when you were born, you were going to be given the gift of this body, and it's your responsibility to take care of it?
Yeah.
For as long as it lives. And I wish we would all think that way. Our body, we should love it. Why would we hate it? This is a gift. Like, this is your body. It's the only one you've got today and for the next however long. Shouldn't we just embrace it and love it, no matter what it looks like? Look what it can do.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
It is such an important message. But we get so caught in and locked in and lost in our conditioning that, if the message there is non-acceptance, that I'm not good enough, that I'm unworthy, and it can be so encompassing and very difficult to break out of. And because we're not thinking about stuff from about 0 to 7, we're not analyzing, we're not self-reflecting. It's just going straight into the unconscious. And so it becomes our identity. And so we're very much identifying with not being worthy. And
That's
things like
a
that.
very important age,
Yeah.
is what you're saying, between 0 and 7 for
Very,
self-identity.
You cannot love a child enough at that age.
Wow.
I mean, you're guiding them and mentoring them, but
This will be their inner
the young initial love
voice.
What's that?
That could be their inner voice for life.
Absolutely. As parents, we are representing conscious awareness for our children. We're teaching their conscious awareness how to love their humanness and take care of their humanness. We're human beings, and so often as parents, we're only just starting to figure it out, and the child's left home,
Yes.
going to university.
It's so true.
It's a big journey.
It's so true.
It's a big journey. I've made 1,000 mistakes of, knowing what I know up here, but being confronted with experiences, I still had a lot to learn to get it into here.
Yeah.
So we just have to accept our humanness and understand that today, now is my opportunity to learn something new. The mistakes I made yesterday or 30 years ago or whatever, it's important not to beat myself up. Yes, totally own it, but have compassion for yourself. You have no choice but to be human, but you can learn something from it and then have a go at doing something different.
Like you just
more
said
positive
before.
Today.
Yes. Like you said before, like a lesson in the classroom.
Yeah.
That's a good one, especially for regret, especially for things that you wish didn't happen or you wish you didn't do or you wish you didn't say, paths you wish you did take,
Yeah.
It's like a life lesson.
That's right.
But a class lesson in school. I feel like I could talk to you all day. The very last question that I ask all of my guests on this show. So, Phil Golding, have you personally ever seen a ghost or a UFO?
I've not seen a ghost. Oh.
Take your time.
Nothing significant that would come back, but I'm pretty sure I saw a UFO as a kid.
In Tamworth?
No, at my parents' holiday home, actually, when lying in bed, looking out the window at night, and there was a light in the sky quite a distance away, but there was another light. I think it produced another light, and then they were interacting with one another. So, and we didn't have drones in those days, and so there was nothing that would be that we would explain as aircraft or anything like that. They could just stay still and then just be interacting in that way. So that's something that was in my memory. But
That's pretty much the same story as a guest a couple of episodes ago. But there was 3. What color were they?
It was just white.
Bright white.
Yeah.
Pretty big, or you said it felt like it was really far away?
It was quite a distance away, yeah.
And did they move in sharp moves, like fast?
It wasn't. It was quite relaxed. And
dancing.
But I had no idea what I was looking at.
Yeah.
But I just remembered almost like my consciousness was taking note. That's unusual, But
So
I had
UFOs
no real
weren't talked
reaction
about? Was the
it.
word UFO a thing?
No.
So
No clue at that age.
Wow.
But I was into UFOs when I was around 18, so
Yeah.
that was interesting.
Probably because you saw them. You
Could
lucky
be,
duck.
yeah.
I've looked 1,000 times, never seen a UFO.
Mm.
I've never seen a ghost either, but I'm very intrigued by both of these. And I love that the guests pretty much have always seen one or the other.
Yes.
Yeah. You're
It's-
probably
it's-
about this maybe 6th or 7th that have seen a UFO. Majority have seen ghosts.
That's right. Holes have been punched in the matrix all over the place. You got crop circles, you got UFOs, you got paranormal, near-death experiences, psychedelic experiences,
Yeah.
and I think we're being prepared for a bigger reality. I think humanity is ready for a shift.
So listeners, maybe
yeah.
you should be like me. And something I'm taking away from this conversation with Phil today is that I'm going to try and be mindful. Meditation I find really difficult with my ADHD. I find it really difficult. So maybe I won't call it meditation. Maybe I'll call it just sitting and manifesting and thinking about the now, not the past, and focus on what it is I want and try and get those levels above me to support me and help me.
Yeah. Remembering that your job, yes, well, we can do a whole thing on conscious manifestation, but I guess that
come back one day and do that episode with
we
me.
can
Come
play with
back.
that,
If you can guide the listeners through how to manifest, I want you to come back on.
do that. But the most important message I want to give is to understand the limitless power of unconditional acceptance. It's a fundamental, foundational principle that is representing oneness, so it's infinite. And those of us who have wonderful conditioning that we're so resilient and we're taking everything positive, they've already got that very much deeply their foundation in their consciousness. They are their own sanctuary. So every trauma can be healed. Every emotional disturbance can be healed.
That doesn't mean forgotten about. That means integrated.
Healed and integrated. But it's about dropping the expectation of when it should happen. Like there's no, are we there yet? We're healing, but there's going to be layers that we've got to work through. It's important not to be grasping at it and have expectations of when it's supposed to happen. But if we make it your commitment to accept yourself unconditionally and to be that representative for yourself, and you're learning how to do that as well. So it's an open-ended learning. You're always going to be learning more and more. And to take full ownership of your mind as your own parent and as your own source of love, and be the student of those absolute principles, you will be awakening more and more and more and more and healing more and more and more. Just leave it open-ended and don't, let yourself sink into, well, this is as good as it gets because they tell me I'm, defective or something like that.
Limited. Yeah.
It can be very, challenging to try to work through it, but it means we just keep being willing to look at it and keep reaching out, learning, not grasping, but being willing to open end and learn how to be those principles for yourself, and marvelous things will happen inevitably. Just 2 quick plugs.
Yeah. Yes. Tell me. What's this
5
book
Steps
you've got?
to Freedom. All that lays out a 5-step process with those first 2 principles, unconditional acceptance and personal responsibility. It's the first 2. It's about how to heal and grow and take charge of your life. So that's the manual I give to my clients and students. You can get it on Amazon or you can get it personally from me.
So this is Phil's book, 5 Steps to Freedom. So I can get it on Amazon?
Yes.
Yeah. The Path to Inner Harmony and Personal Growth. If what you've just sat on this couch and said is in this book, you're going to want to read it, listeners. And then Inner Harmony, how do people find you on Inner Harmony?
Yeah, just go to my website,
Yep.
innerharmony.com.au. Just give me a call, send me a text, send me an email. We can connect. But the other plug is I'm also involved in a thing called men's wellbeing, and there's also a women's wellbeing. And this part of the world in Southeast Queensland is one of the best places in the world for doing inner work, learning how to become aware and having wonderful communities to be a part of. So I'm part of creating a men's gathering, men's festival in November. But there's a women's festival as well, men's wellbeing, women's wellbeing. You come together with those principles of total acceptance, being mentored and embraced and supported and championed and honoured. There's just a wonderful experience coming together into those
Did you start
communities.
that?
I'm a part of it because it represents these principles, and there's a lot out here that's there to tap into. So get into it, and we're in a wonderful part of the world.
This is what we need. We need more of this.
Men's wellbeing, women's wellbeing.
Yeah. And how do people find those groups?
Google that and you'll go to the website.
Perfect.
Men's wellbeing, women's wellbeing. Thank you.